Chris Hogan. I'm studying psychology here at Northern Virginia Community College, and at the beginning of this semester, actually, I found out about and developed an interest in positive psychology. And I conducted an experiment that was supposed to be a comparative analysis of the emotional well-being of pessimists and optimists, age 18 to 30. It was about the age range I was going for with my sample. So just a little overview of the presentation. You can kind of break it down into three separate parts. The background, I'm going to go over what positive psychology means and the origins of the field, the motivation behind my study, what led me to do that, and the purpose statement that kind of drove the study and what I was working towards, the nature of the studies, and so like the research questions and sub-questions, and then the ethnography and limitations. The review of the literature is going to go over the literature of positive psychology, and I'm going to get a quick look at the history of the field to shed some light on it and show how my experiment kind of fits into it and how I was hoping to possibly contribute to the field of positive psychology. And then my research design and methodology, I'll go over the intricacies of the research experiment to see the design, sampling, data collection, and instrumentation, validity, and my conclusion. So, just some background. The power of positive psychology was kind of a term I used at the beginning of the semester, which developed into more of a title for my experiment. I got the idea of it from just some introductory readings I did on positive psychology. I found out, just kind of from reading through that it has the power to really, improve and help someone shape their lives for the better. Positive psychology as a whole is kind of a recently developed field. It started kind of later half of this last century, actually. Martin Seligman, the former head of the APA, kind of brought it to light and really drove it into being the popular field that it is now. Two of the researchers that I did actually see popping up again and again in the research were Dr. Seligman and Barbara Fredrickson, who is a professor at UNC at Chapel Hill, and she's a distinguished professor and a leader in the field of positive psychology, and I actually ended up using some methods she had come up with for the experiment. So what prompted the experiment, as mentioned earlier, came about from me discovering that the positive psychology as a whole had the power to improve people's lives, and I kind of wanted to harness that to see if in the period of this class I could do that. I wanted to kind of improve lives and maybe see if it could be done on a large scale, because everything I read had been more small scale, just not doing it for huge groups of people, and my methods were hopefully going to be applicable to a larger group of people. Many of the researchers in the field of positive psychology agreed that improving emotional well-being is completely possible, and so I tried to build off of their ideas and see if the emotional well-being of my subjects could be improved through the use of mass-produced positive messages. And so a couple of the limitations of my experiment right off the bat were time constraints. I didn't have enough time to do a really long longitudinal study to see if this would develop over time, because I noticed in the research a lot of studies did show that over time a little bit can go a long way. The sample size was relatively small and shrunk due to the voluntary nature of the study. I just put an ad out on the internet to see if anyone would be willing to be be one of the subjects in the study, and had 11 responses, and the group shrunk to 5 at the end, so kind of did develop into more of a case study-like scenario. And the diversity of the sample was fairly limited. It was entirely college-age students from this area, aged 18 to 30, and they were all from relatively similar socioeconomic backgrounds. So just a little bit about the literature. One of the common misconceptions that was brought up in a paper written by Dr. Seligman and a professor at the University of Pennsylvania, where Seligman does teach, was what positive psychology exactly is. It's not so much about being as happy as you could be as trying to study positive traits, meaningfulness, and kind of the quality found a couple papers. One was written by researchers at Indiana University, and another paper was actually written by 3 professors at a university in Spain. So it is worldwide, sweeping the world. The researchers from the University of Jaén in Spain found that there wasn't really a strong relationship between having a pessimistic attitude and your emotional well-being, which I thought would be great for my study, because regardless of if my subject started out as being positive or negative, that negativity wouldn't exactly shape the outcome of the study. It wouldn't bring them down. I could only really build them up, which was a good sign. And the researchers at the Indiana University found that a positive mood could be used to improve self-control, which would in turn produce more positive emotions. So it could be an upward sort of spiral into positive well-being, if you will. So back to Dr. Fredrickson. She co-wrote a paper with a professor at Florida State University on the effects of positive emotions, and she co-wrote another paper with researchers at Temple University, and all about how emotions that could only be felt for a certain amount of time, like something like a smile or something like that, just a quick moment of positive inspiration, could have a long-lasting effect, which was great because the entire design of my study involved sending a quick message that someone would see shortly and have that affect them throughout the day. So that was promising at the beginning. So just about the study, it was a 4-week-long comparative analysis of the emotional well-being of people in the group. I used a reversal time series design, so there was a treatment and then an observation which was collected, and then some time before another treatment and an observation. I used Dr. Fredrickson's positivity ratio, which is actually something she developed alongside this book she's recently written, which she allows people to go online onto her website and they can fill out a quick 20-question survey, which is set up kind of like a Likert scale where you would rate if you feel strongly or negatively towards something, how you feel that day, just 20 quick questions. So I had my subjects create accounts there, go in, and then answer the 20 questions after seeing their positive messages each day. And that ended up being relatively inconclusive. There was a general trend to my data. It did have a kind of a downward spiral at the beginning and then an upward spiral, so it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. It was something interesting that developed within the research, and I'm not sure if it was more caused by the messages I was sending or if it was some sort of outside effect that was affecting everyone in the group. So if I were to go back, I would want to have a bigger sample size for my survey and the ability to be more involved with the subjects, because if I did that, I feel like I could have a better chance at seeing how everything in their lives could affect them, because just having the one message each day wasn't exactly conclusive. Let's see.
Go ahead.
So the hypothesis was not supported. I was upset, but the related literature did seem to support it, but my experiment did not end up supporting the hypothesis.
And state that hypothesis again.
It was if people are subjected to positive messages each day, then their emotional well-being will improve over time, which it ended up improving, but only after the decline that we see here in the middle, which, again, I'm not sure what
But it
caused.
did support your hypothesis, because it's still over time. Okay, we can talk about that. Go ahead.
All right, and then, well, the data followed the unexpected pattern where it did decline and go back up. I was hoping for just a continuous positive incline, but fluctuated. The results are not necessarily representative of a larger population, but again, with a larger sample, different trends could emerge, but with time constraints and the few people I had dropping out, the sample wasn't large enough to really be conclusive outside of that group. If I could study them for longer, maybe I could see a bigger trend as a whole, but with those 5 that I had at the end, it was not conclusive. It was not externally valid. So,
Okay, could you go back to your